You're now listening to the Tax Smart REI Podcast, the number one tax podcast for real estate investors. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Tax Smart REI Podcast. Today, we're joined with Isabelle, and we're going to be talking about senior assisted living facilities and the massive opportunity that there is in the space. So if you are looking for cash flowing assets that might just have some tax benefits, we'll be diving into all of that in just 1 minute. Most landlords are closer to achieving their financial goals than they realize. They are just a few moves away from meeting their cash flow goals and finally achieving financial freedom. Introducing Property Llama, the game-changing tool designed to help you unlock hidden opportunities in your real estate investments using the equity you've already built up in your portfolio. Property Llama is an online investment platform built by real estate investors for real estate investors, and their user-friendly dashboard gives you a crystal clear picture of your entire portfolio, and their team of real estate experts is there to help you plan the moves you need to make to hit your goals faster. With Property Llama, you can track and benchmark your investment's performance, model what-if scenarios to make smarter decisions, and work with their team of real estate investment professionals to discover new investment opportunities and accelerate your portfolio. When you sign up at propertyllama.com/taxsmart, you receive a free personalized one-on-one portfolio review with one of their real estate investment experts. Again, visit www.propertyllama.com/taxsmart to get started today. That's it for now. We'll dive right into today's episode. All right, and we are back. Isabelle, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Would you be able to give our listeners a snapshot of your background and how you got involved in real estate and senior assisted living?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here. We got started because my grandmother actually fell, broke her hip, and she needed assisted living. And my dad had been a real estate investor for 30 plus years. So he did quick math and said, wait. I'm going to be paying $5,000 a month for her to live into one of these homes or facilities, or I could own and operate it, cash flow. She could live for free, and we could be, making money all the while. So we kind of got into it because of that personal need within our family, and the rest is really history from there.
That's awesome because, yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. If you could offset some personal costs by turning it into a business, then why not? But for those who may not be familiar with it, I mean, it seems a little self-explanatory, but, there's always more to it than that. What exactly is senior assisted living?
Yeah, so what we do is residential assisted living. It is a residential home, a single family home being used to house 6 to 16 seniors. Depending on where you live, there's a maximum of how many residents you can have. So these are large luxury upscale homes with private bedrooms and bathrooms for each senior, and they're receiving the same quality care that they may be receiving at a large commercial facility, probably even better at our homes. But they're getting that 24/7 caregiver attention, medication management, food, all of those different things, but it's in a home setting, not a, hospital like feel that we often dread when we think about aging. Oh, don't put me in that facility. That's not what this is. It's the better care in a home vibe.
I hear that my grandmother's going through it right now, something very similar. And if she could have someone like this in her home, I'm sure she'd love that against the alternative of being more in a hospital-like setting. So this does seem like you're not only having a business out of this, but doing a service to people for sure. So how exactly does this business model work?
So what we do is we own and operate these care homes ourselves. And then over the last 10 years, we've been training other people how to do this. So we show you how to purchase the real estate, renovate it, or custom build it from the ground up, and then fund the whole project, right? Have enough income to be able to get the home licensed and suitable for residential assisted living. We show you how to hire the right staff so that you are not working in the home, you're not living in the home, none of that. You are hiring the licensed administrator, which in the real estate world, we'll call that the property manager. They do all your hiring, firing, training, onboarding of your caregivers, as well as dealing with the state in regards to compliance and deficiencies and all of that good stuff. You're hiring caregivers who are doing the 24/7 care for the staff, and then you're marketing to fill the home with seniors. So the home is really being used as an investment property. Yes, you're building equity and it's a long-term hold strategy, but you're also making cash flow every single month while it's open. So it's a business as well as a real estate play.
That makes a lot of sense. And I know I was doing some research into this beforehand, and there's kind of like two different ways, I guess, you could invest in this. And to a large degree, it's you could own the real estate and then lease it out to somebody else, right? And they would handle the operations and you're just being the landlord in that case. And then the other way is where you'd actually own the real estate and be the operator. Like you said, you might not be the one actually doing it, but you might have the property manager or the operations manager per se. But like in that case, then you're responsible for both the property and the ongoing operations in a sense. So if we were to look at just the real estate route, right, just going down the real estate path, how does that compare to, say, a traditional long-term rental property with just an annual lease and you might have a tenant from a cash flow perspective?
Well, if you are just going to get the home and retrofit it, get it ready to go for assisted living and have an operations company lease it from you, you may be able to charge them up to 2 times the fair market rent because you've done all the work of getting it suitable for assisted living, meaning you've added additional bedrooms and bathrooms, widened hallways and doorways, added fire suppression, elevators, whatever's needed to get the home ready to go and licensed for assisted living. So all of that work, someone is willing to pay you for the hard work that you've done. This isn't a single family who's signing a 1-year lease with you. This is a business who's trying to plant roots and establish a brand and a reputation. So many times the leases are 3, 5, I've seen 8 or 10-year contracts with options to renew, with options to purchase. They're building a brand that is really based heavily on location. So they don't want to be kicked out. They don't want to be removed. So as a landlord, this is a beautiful opportunity. Not only are you cash flowing more on just that property, but also you have a tenant where you've signed a lease and you may now, have that conversation about, do you want to renew for 5, 8, 10 years? That's a pretty beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, if you could lock it in for a long term and get more than you would get with a traditional rental, it is a little bit more work, I guess, to get it ready to go, renovated, but it could be worth it in the long run. So, from a tenant perspective, I guess you might master lease it out, say, to this other entity per se in this instance. How long does the average guest, or I mean, not guest is not the word for it, average
Resident.
resident? Yes, how long are they typically in one of these facilities?
A resident is typically in a residential assisted living facility for an average of 3.5 years. So you're having, like we said, based on where you live, between 6 and 16 residents in the home. So there is turnover. So as the operator, you do need to be marketing the home constantly because, a resident passes or their need increases and they need to go into, skilled nursing care. You are going to always need to be marketing so that you can be filling those beds consistently. But it's not the same as like an apartment where every year you're getting a whole new batch of tenants. This is a lot longer stay at an average of 3.5 years.
That even sounds good from an operations perspective. If you know the average stays going to be 3.5 years, you can focus more on the operations and less so on a constant turnover.
Yep.
So from like a startup perspective, so I know you mentioned luxury properties, luxury homes are typically used here. So if we kind of start from that point, like what types of homes, what price range, and I guess that varies by market, but like if I'm an investor and I'm looking at properties for this, what am I looking for?
Really, there's 4 ways to get started, and all 4 of those will have different price points and different timelines. So I'll break that down a little bit and then give you some key things to look for. The 4 ways to get started: one is buying land and custom building from the ground up. That's obviously going to be the cost of the land, the cost of the build, and then carrying costs because you're not going to be up and running cash flowing day one. So that can be pretty pricey, but the home is custom built to suit. So depending on your area, you may be able to do all of that for under 1 million. Other people may be looking at 3 million. It really ranges based on your market and where you are. The second way to get started is buy a single family home and convert it to become. Now, if you're starting out with something that's 2,000 square feet and you're trying to make this a 7,000 square foot home, okay, that's going to cost a lot of money because it's the real estate plus this massive renovation. But if you're starting out with something that's already 6,500 square feet and you're just chopping it up differently, adding more bedrooms and bathrooms and not even doing an addition, you're just doing a reno. Now it's the cost of the real estate plus the reno. So again, that's going to really range on your market and then what you need to do. Third way is to lease a home to use for this. So someone else has done the work of getting the real estate up and running, and you are going to lease the home from them. Fourth way is to buy an existing REL business. There's 30,000 of these homes that exist across our country today, and many of them are being run mom and pop style. So after about 7 or 8 years, the owner operator is very burnt out, and you can purchase the real estate plus the business. The business is usually worth 2 to 5 times the EBITDA. So again, that's going to range depending on their rates in the home and how well they're cash flowing, plus the cost of the real estate. But if you are just getting into this brand new and you're saying like, okay, let me think about this. Number one, we highly encourage you, do not use your own money for this. It is lazy to use your own money for investing, specifically in real estate investing with RAL. This is something that speaks to the heart. And there's a lot of people getting a whopping 0% on their money sitting in the bank or sitting in an IRA. And if you could find them an opportunity to actually be making decent returns, 12 to 15%, they will want to talk to you. So this is a beautiful opportunity to work with other investors, whether it's private lenders, SBA 7A loans, or all sorts of different things. But what you're looking for is a luxury area where the majority population is 50 to 70 years old, making 2 times the median income, homeowners and college grads. That is not the senior living in the home. That is the adult child of the senior who's going to be moving into the home. They are the ones who are making the decisions. A lot of times they are the ones paying for the resident to live in the home. And so you want to be as close to them as possible. So no matter which of the routes and no matter how much money it's going to cost, location wise, you're focused on what we call daughter Judy, that adult child of the loved one who's moving into the home.
That makes a ton of sense because my grandmother's in not an assisted living facility. Like I said before, I think she would like that much more than what she's doing right now, but it's right next to my aunt, like right in the same town as my aunt. So my aunt is daughter Judy. It's not her name, but that's who she is in this instance. Hey, are you tired of working with generalist CPAs that tell you can't use the real estate professional status, the short-term rental loophole, or cost segregation studies, or worse, have no idea what these things are? If so, it's time to elevate your game and work with a CPA firm that gets it. Here at Hall CPA, we worked with thousands of investors, helping them save millions of dollars in taxes through proactive tax strategy and planning, tax preparation, and outsourced accounting solutions. So if you're ready to elevate your game, make tax filing painless, and save thousands of dollars in taxes, what are you waiting for? Just head on over to www.therealestatecpa.com/podcast to request an initial consultation today. We are accepting clients for the 2024 tax year, so if you're looking to make a change, you have nothing to lose. Again, you can request an initial consultation by visiting www.therealestatecpa.com/podcast. We look forward to hearing from you and learning more about your situation and how we can help. But for now, we'll dive right back into today's episode. So I just wanted to drill down on that because we have a lot of investors on the show. Some of them just invest their own capital. Sometimes they syndicate deals. Sometimes they are using loans. So do you see a lot of people syndicating or raising like equity for a venture like this?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty common. Really, the 3 ways people raise capital is syndications, using private money, or SBA 7A loans. Those are the 3 most popular ways to do this. Of course, you can use a bank loan. Of course, you can use your own money or different things of that nature, but those are definitely the top 3.
Got it. That makes a ton of sense. So from a scalability perspective, again, a lot of our listeners, sometimes they just want one property, but a lot of times they do want to scale. They want to scale something up. They want to repeat a process over and over again. How scalable is this business model?
We highly encourage people actually to have a 3-pack, 3 homes within 20 to 40 minutes of each other. Because one, if you're going to do this, then why not really do it? But also, if you're going to do this for your licensed administrator, it is not full time for them to oversee one home. Full time is 2 to 4 homes. So 3 right in the middle. They can be overseeing all 3. You also now get economies of scale. Your caregivers are usually doing shift work, like 12-hour shifts. So it's kind of like a nurse. They're on or off for 3 or 4 days. Well, they're not off those 3 or 4 days. If you don't have a second home, they're working at the Brookdale down the road the other 3 or 4 days. But if you do have a second home, they're working 3 or 4 days for you here, 3 or 4 days for you here. You're not paying overtime and they get to stay in the same work culture and environment. So it's a win-win for everyone when it comes to staff, resources, and then the availability for the clientele. You may want to do a luxury home and a more, middle of the line home. And now when someone comes to your luxury home and they say, I love it, but I can't afford it. Okay, great. We've got options and you can work them up or down the ladder based on their particular needs.
That's really interesting. The more and more I'm thinking about this here as we're doing this conversation, it's a business. It definitely is a business for sure, more so than just a real estate play. With that said, I know you kind of mentioned some of the services that are typically provided in these types of facilities before, but can we drill down into a little bit more like, say I'm a resident, what types of, beyond just having a place to live, what types of services, what types of things are being done for me as a resident if I were, a resident?
Great question. They are not moving in for fun. right? They're moving in because they have to. They're being required to either by their family or the doctor. Whoever has stated now it is no longer safe for them to live alone at home. So typically, a senior moves in because they need help with 3 to 5 ADLs, activities of daily living. Think of this as everything you do from the moment you get up out of bed to the moment you go to bed at night, including getting up out of chairs or beds or couches, right? Walking, toileting, bathing, eating, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, taking medication. You typically need help with 3 to 5 by the time you move in. So they're having help with all sorts of different activities of daily living. It is not the Golden Girls, right? They need help. That's why they're here. Maybe it's mental decline, like dementia is progressing, or it's physical decline where they are no longer, able to do things on their own. So that's why they're moving in. On top of that, they're getting, bedroom, bathroom, their meals, their medication management. And then we have a lot of fun in the homes, like activities with pet therapy, senior yoga, music, and all of these different things that we do with the seniors, throughout the day, throughout the week, so that they are entertained and having fun while they're there.
It sounds very much like you would see almost like a hospital, but maybe more of a luxury feel, more of a different approach, like you said before. And the reason why I say that is because there is, and I'm going to get a little tax. We are a tax podcast, so I have to dive into the taxes just a little bit here, if you don't mind for just 1 second. But I don't want everybody to go out and run for joy yet. This is something we'd have to take a deeper look into before I give the full thumbs up. But there's an exception for short-term rental properties underneath the tax code. And under that same portion of the code, there's an exception for when extraordinary personal services are provided to the guests that are incidental, meaning the rental of the property is incidental to the services that they're receiving. And it could be extraordinarily powerful for people who have a W-2 job or they're running a business and want to offset their income. And it sounds like that is the case here. It sounds like it. I don't want to give the full thumbs up on that yet. I have to look into it because it sounds like the people who are living here, like you said before, they're not renting this facility because they necessarily want to. It's required either by the family or by the doctors at this point. They cannot live on their own. So they need all these extraordinary services like assisting going to the bathroom or assisting with food and all the other things that come with life. So it sounds like there might be a major opportunity out there for everybody who is listening. We'll have to do a follow-up episode on specifically the tax benefits of senior assisted living facilities. We just wanted to go on that little quick monologue for everybody who might be listening. Are you aware of any of the potential tax benefits that you see people taking advantage of by any chance?
Well, keep in mind, this isn't a tenant landlord relationship, right? They're not a tenant. So they are not signing a lease with you there. The operations company is signing a lease with you as the landlord. They're signing residency care plans. So a residency care plan, they don't have tenant rights. That's not what this is. You can let them go at any time, and there's no repercussions for you as the landlord, because if you can no longer legally and safely take care of them within the scope of what you're licensed to do, you can't keep them. So if they stop paying, that's part of that residency care agreement that's saying, I can't provide these services unless you do this. If they stop paying, you can let them go and have them go to another facility or send them back with their families or all of these different things. So you are really protected a little bit more than your traditional tenant landlord agreement. But there are a lot of tax benefits just in general for running a business and then real estate business, as you know. So a lot of those similar ones that you can use in many other forms of single family investing, you can use here as well. And you're having, employees, your caregivers are employees. So there's benefits there as well too, because this is a full-blown business that you are running.
Hey Tax Smart investors, Thomas Castelli here, and I want to let you know that I recently started my own YouTube channel where I'll be releasing weekly videos on tax and wealth tips for real estate investors and business owners, and of course I'll be covering many personal tax strategies as well. But that's not all. I'm also going to be sharing the tips and lessons I learned by investing as a limited partner in real estate syndicates and funds, which you'll only find available on YouTube, and I'll be diving even deeper in Tax Smart insiders. And lastly, in the not so distant future, I plan to cover estate planning strategies for real estate investors, and you'll only find that on YouTube. Subscribe today so you don't miss a beat by visiting youtube.com/@ThomasCastelli or by searching @ThomasCastelli on YouTube. Again, subscribe today at youtube.com/@ThomasCastelli. I'll see you over there, but for now, right back to today's episode. Yeah, no, absolutely. And the more I think about this, there definitely are tax benefits in here somewhere, because there are a substantial, like for everybody who wants non-passive benefits, there are some way. Again, we'll do a follow-up episode on that at some point, but This is a really interesting business model. Do you see people getting into this more for cash flow, or they want to grow their wealth, or is there a combination of both in this?
I would say the two biggest reasons why people come to us to start learning about this industry and getting involved is number one, they have a family member or someone in need that's close to them, and they are starting to dive into this world on their own. And they're saying, oh my gosh, I had no idea what the cost was, how terrible the care options are, and I'm not okay with it. And so they're looking for something and it's close to home. The second part of this is a lot of people are having a really hard time cash flowing on regular single family home investments right now, even multifamily. Like we get a lot of people who own 40, 50 unit apartment complexes that they're selling because their one REL is cash flowing better than a 40 unit multifamily property. So we get a lot of people who just they can't make it work. What used to work 5, 10 years ago isn't working anymore. And they're looking at the trends and they're seeing the coming silver tsunami and they want their piece of the pie. They want to follow the wealth, and the wealth is held by one group, the boomers. And that is who is coming into this market. They're not there yet. Currently, it's the silent generation, but we are 1.3 million beds short. And the baby boomers are almost 2 times the amount of people than the silent generation was. So we have a massive influx of people who need care and assistance over the next 5 to 25 years, and we do not have enough beds. So this is a huge opportunity to grow your wealth, also take things that aren't cash flowing as well and potentially convert them to something that could be, as well as serve a purpose for your own family.
That makes a lot of sense. This is the first time I've heard that term silver tsunami, but I am familiar with what's going on. Basically, what's happening is you have all these boomers who are going to be entering retirement age, and this is obviously going to be, if you skate where the puck is going, you can see the writing on the wall that over the next, I think it's like 2030 or 2035, something like that, there's like 10,000 boomers who will be retiring every day. They're selling their businesses, so it's an opportunity to buy their businesses, and it's an opportunity to then provide housing in a way that would be very useful for them. So how far do you think this opportunity has to run in terms of growth? Like, are we 5 years, 10 years? Like if I wanted to start this today and be in this business for quite some time, how long do you think this trend will continue?
If you look at all of the generational charts, actually, there's not that big of a dip off after the boomers. It does dip down when it goes into Gen X and millennials, but truly, we have more millions of people alive than we've ever had before. The boomers started the massive spike, but then it stays relatively high. It's not this huge drop. It was a drop before, it's not a drop after. So to me, this is something that we are, as much as our generation has been handed not great opportunities over our lifetime, this is one of those opportunities that is so big. And I see that people who are getting in now, who are building their brand, building their reputation, are going to be a lot better off than people who in 15 years get involved, because there'll still be opportunity. We do not have enough. The supply and demand is so vastly apart from each other, like skewed. It's so bad that no matter what you get involved in the senior space, like this is just the place to be. But I genuinely believe this is the opportunity of our lifetimes. And people who get involved now are going to be a lot happier. It's like Airbnb. If you owned one 15 years ago, you were a lot happier than you are today. That's the same thing. I feel like people who are jumping on this and they're unafraid to take that risk and get involved. And yes, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but it's kind of the wild, wild west right now. There's no national rules. There's no national overarching thing that's happening. This is like every man for himself out here. And so it's a beautiful time to get involved in something like this.
That brings me to my next question, actually. And I know your company helps people get into this. So what does that look like? How do you help people get into, if someone wanted to go out and explore this business, potentially jump in and create this portfolio of senior assisted living facilities, how do you guys help that?
Yeah. So because we're in this ourselves, 14 years, we've now owned our homes. And people over the years have been asking that, like, hey, I want to do it too. Show me how, show me how. So it started really organically with us just showing other people we knew in the real estate world how to do this, giving them documents and helpful tips to work with the government and all of these different things. And it really grew over the last 10 years into us becoming the number one national brand for all things residential assisted living. So we have online courses and live 3-day trainings that we host in Phoenix, Arizona every 8 weeks, where we show people step by step how to do this. We now have students in all 50 states. We've helped people open care homes all across the country, thousands of success stories of people who have done all 4 of those methods using their own money, not using any of their money. I mean, every method along the way. And it's been a lot of fun to be able to see the success that has launched from the educational start right there, because I see him in the beginning of the journey, and then it's fun to watch the flower bloom in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we kind of wind down the episode here and we give some people some more information where they can learn more about this, is there anything we haven't discussed that's related to this opportunity that you think would be relevant for real estate investors to know?
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people worry about is liability, right? As soon as you say seniors, as soon as you say assisted living, they're like, oh my God, lawsuit central. I don't want to get involved. Knock on wood. But as long as we've been in this business, none of us nor our students have been sued. And that is a beautiful thing. I will say that the neglect and the abuse that's happening and that is burning a really bad brand and reputation is many times happening in the large facilities where the ratio is 30 seniors to 1 caregiver. That is cruel. That is wrong. That should be illegal. The fact that it's not is sick. Our country does not care about seniors the way it cares about kids or anyone else. So in our homes, we recommend a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio. In that case, the caregivers can actually do their job. They can actually care for the seniors and attend to them and be there when they want and need them. There's no one being, left for 5+ hours. There's no one being double diapered. There's no bed sores and UTIs and all of this stuff, that the horror stories that we hear daily. So liability already, just the care and the quality you can provide by doing this on a smaller scale, knocks 99% of that out of the water. But then liability insurance, people think, oh my God, it's going to be so expensive. It's about $2 to $3 per day per resident. So if you had 10 residents, $900 a month, it's a line item. You definitely want it. You definitely need it, but it's not like going to break the bank for you every month. These homes still cash flow even while you're paying caregivers fair wages, even while you're paying, liability insurance and all of these different things. You can still cash flow well and provide an amazing service at a smaller scale.
Everything you said just hits home right there. Like I said, my grandmother, she's 91. She's in one of these facilities, one of the large scale facilities right now. And a lot of the complaints that you just mentioned are literally the complaints that I just heard, like not even a few weeks ago. So it's absolutely crazy. This is definitely something that is needed out there in the marketplace. So if our listeners wanted to learn more about this opportunity, or perhaps learn more about your company and how you could help them jumpstart one of these things and go through that process, how would they do that?
Yeah, you can check us out at RAL101.com. We've got free books, free webinars. You can schedule a call with me or the team. We'd love to chat with you about your best next steps, but definitely check it out. Lots of free stuff there. RAL101.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Isabelle. We're going to go ahead and drop that into the show notes for everybody's listening. And for everybody in there who's wondering about the tax benefits, and I know you're wondering out there, I'll do a follow-up episode, me and Ryan, when he returns from paternity leave. He's got the young ones, but we'll touch base on that. Thanks again, Isabelle, for joining us today. And this is an excellent opportunity, and I hope people jump on it.